Look who's coming in, Ice Cube. What's going on, man?
All right, what's up with you?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sam Roberts, this is Mike Cannon.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man? How you
Very
feeling?
nice to meet you.
New movie, Fist Fight. It's coming out. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You have to. The choreography of that fight scene for you
Yes.
has to be so important. Because, like, if Ice Cube doesn't look like a fucking badass, even though it's a comedy movie, you're in trouble. Right?
In a way. I mean,
Right?
he's a teacher, so, I mean, you don't expect too much from him.
I guess we.
I don't have to look like a SEAL or, you know what I mean, or a crack Navy. Nah, you know, so he's a teacher, but he has a shady past. Nobody know what he did. You know, was he in the CIA? You know, was he part of the Mexican drug cartel? I mean, nobody knows what Dixon did. Well, it's not Dixon this time. It's Strickland.
Strickland.
See, I'm getting caught up with characters right now.
Yeah.
Strickland.
So was this one of? Were you involved in this movie more than just acting, or were you just strictly acting in this movie?
I'm an executive producer.
Okay.
You know, but you know, I didn't do the heavy lifting on this movie. It was brought to us by Richie Keene and Charlie Day, who they've done things on Always Sunny. And he's directed some of those episodes, and this was his first feature. And when he showed me the kind of movie he wanted to make, I was all in.
It's probably wild, right? I mean, this entire season of Always Sunny, it's their 12th, and they're still so prolific and so edgy. They really, they go after it, man.
Yeah, which is great. You know, that's what you want, you know, in TV. You want people who are not afraid to you know, go for it. And you know, you don't want people to hold themselves back.
Do you like doing that? Because you've done so many projects where, like, you'll take the reins on kind of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is it nice to be able to just go be an executive producer, but pretty much just act and you're kind of done.
Pretty much, you know, I was a little more hands-on with this, just a little than I thought, you know, because this is Richie's first time as a director, so you gotta be there for him, you know, because.
And did you ever think that would happen in your life, that you'd be the guy on the set telling the director, like, no, this is how the business works, kid? You know what I mean? Like,
I never thought that, but that's where we are. Yeah. You know, everybody looked at me like, Cube, you've done more movies than all of us. Is it right or not? So
yeah.
So it's cool to be in that position to be able to influence the movie and not just act. And you know, when you just act, sometimes you can see the train go off the tracks and you can't do nothing about it but sit there. You know, but you know, when you're a producer, you can get in there and say, what the hell's going on in here? What's going on?
Right. Especially when that word executive is in front of the producer.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you can really say what the hell's going on.
Without a doubt. So it's a great spot.
Are you do you need that kind of control on the stuff that you're doing? Like, I would imagine, like, even early on, like when you make that move to leave NWA, which is massive. I mean, you know what I mean? That you didn't have anything in the bag waiting for you. Like, you just kind of relied on yourself after that. Once that's successful, once your solo rap career is successful, at that point, do you go, well, I'm not going to do anything unless I can have control. This is way better.
Not really. You know, I'm not a guy who has to take control. It's usually for quality control. You know, that's really what it's all about. It's not like I need to do everything for it to turn out right, because I don't believe that. I think it's smart people all around, and you just kind of let them know your vision. And then you let them do what they do best, and you supervise their, you know, what they're doing to make sure it coincides with what you want to do. So that's really what it's all about. You know, I'm not a control freak unless I'm not controlling it.
Well, and that's the only time anything good gets made is when you actually trust your collaborators, right?
Yes.
Because otherwise you're micromanaging, and if you try to control their vision on top of yours, then it can all get muddled and fucked up.
It's terrible. It's terrible when you have a director running around like a chicken with his head cut off because he's trying to do everybody's job.
Yeah.
And you have qualified people there saying, dude, you hired me to do this. Let me do it. And so I'm not into that. I'm into letting people shine, letting people do what they do best. Even actors, you know. I'm not like, oh man, he gonna steal this scene from me. Damn. How do I make sure that don't happen? You know what I mean? So it's all about a collaborative effort.
Sometimes you got to toss the alley-oop, not dunk it.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
Especially with movies, because you got over 100 people that's really working to make this thing happen. Now, with a record, I'm a little different because I can go in there and do it myself, really.
Yeah.
So it's a little different, but movies you gotta have a team, man.
I was thinking about that. Like, do you think are you putting out another album?
Yes.
Is it more difficult now? Do you think like you could have written the lyrics that you wrote on your first solo album? Because there were some like raunchy, not even raunchy, but just like hardcore
Raw.
shit.
Yes.
Raw
Yeah.
is the word. And we're a lot more politically correct now as a society than we were when like No Vaseline came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think like even the context of No Vaseline, he's like, whoa, but we don't isn't that a little homophobic that he said? You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
there's so many little things that you have to dance around
At
now.
least
Exactly.
you spit.
You know, it's like wasn't everything? It seemed like wasn't entertainment better like in the 70s, late
Yep.
80s, where everything was a little raw. It wasn't so washed down and cleaned up and like put a fluffy bow on everything. And so, me, I'm all about being real. So I feel like I could still write those lyrics and I could take the heat that comes after that. My new record is called Everything's Corrupt. It'll be out as soon as I finish it because I've been doing movies and, it's been kind of getting pushed back. So, I'm really all about being provocative, man. That's what a rapper should be.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be a politically correct rapper. That just sounds like an oxymoron.
Yeah, and also the PC culture kind of almost doesn't go to hip hop all the time because they feel such like white guilt that they won't project their like, oh, you cannot say that. They're like, well, speak on your experience.
Yes.
yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they don't want to like, well, I don't know, because I don't know if I point out that he said something offensive. Am I being racist?
Right.
I don't want to say that, and
It's
you get
crazy.
away with more.
It's crazy how fear is like a driving force in us being so ignorant and running into each other all the time.
Yeah.
And being so uncomfortable all the time because of these like fears that you have in the back of your head that really don't matter at the time or the place most of the time.
And it stops people from being creative, right? Like, because you're sitting there, if you're thinking about how is this going to be perceived, what type of feedback am I going to get from this, then you're not.
That's not art.
Right, you're not doing it.
Yeah, that's trying to package. That's probably just trying to shove a present down somebody's throat. You know what I mean? It's like, I made this cookie, eat it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, hey, the cookies are there. You like them or not.
Yeah.
That's what an artist is supposed to be. Here it is. You like it or not. I don't care. I'm off
Right.
to the next thing.
Right.
Well, and it's probably similar about like trying to control everything on a movie set. You're just, all things go haywire. People that are so caught up in like words and how to frame certain ideas are losing out on the actual fucking conversation because all they're doing is combing through every single word that they're using as opposed to paying attention to the actual message.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Were you happy with the way your son portrayed you in Straight Outta Compton?
Oh, yeah, man. He did his thing.
You had to be.
I was too.
You had to be.
I was-
good, Mike. I was
very
going to
proud.
ask you too, Mike. It means just as much.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. I knew he was the right dude for the job. When I looked at him one day and I'm saying, like, I'm taking him on tour with me and stuff where he's doing shows. He's out there. He's ferocious on the mic. You know what I mean? He's reminding me of a young me. And I'm like, man, I wonder, couldn't this kid act? You know what I'm saying? And will he take it serious? Because, I mean, he's had a great life, to be honest. You know, he's
Yeah, that's what I
all
was
he do is have fun and spend my money. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder, would he get serious enough in something that he is not, pursuing? It's my dream.
Right.
Dude, will you get serious enough to do this? And he was like, yeah, I'll knock it out the box. He said, as a matter of fact, I can't see nobody else in the world doing it.
So he almost got competitive with it. Like, that's my role.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, it's going to be obstacles because I couldn't give him the job. I couldn't say, this is yours. I had to first okay it with the director, Gary Gray, because when I first told him that I'm thinking about putting my son in it, he was like, man, what kind of movie we trying to make, man? Man, we trying to make some real shit, man. You just want you. I said, look, dude, I know he can do it. I said, I wasn't an actor when I did Boys in the Hood. Somebody gave me a shot.
Right.
I said, Gary, I gave you a shot when you directed Friday. You had never directed a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Give my son a shot at it. he can audition like everybody else. So he passed Gary's test. Then he had to go in front of the brass at Universal, and his screen test was through the roof.
Yeah.
And he got the part.
Yeah, because that's a big deal. Because you're right. It's not like they're putting together one of these like made-for-TV, like BET, here's the real story behind, where it's kind of like schlock. It's like we're actually going for a real movie. We're going for theatrical. We're going for Oscar.
Level.
We're going for a real movie.
Yeah, and so and I wouldn't have had it no other way. I mean, being in control of the project, me, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Estate, Ren Yella. Nowhere in the world will we have control of this project and let them just put together some, fluffy little caricature of what it was.
Well, that was amazing also about considering how your son was brought up in, privilege.
Yes.
He was able to access that type of grit and raw from your past. Was there anything that you kind of impressed upon him to get that type of performance, or was that just something he picked up from watching you?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure he picked it up because, he has lived a privileged life, but I keep real people around me. I didn't live a privileged life. I can't even say it. So I didn't do it. So so I still keep real people from my old neighborhood around, the ones that got sense, of course. And he's been around, he's been around the hood all his life. He just haven't been in the hood all his life.
Right.
So he was able to, hone that. And I would tell him, what I was feeling this day, what I was thinking of Dre that day, what I thought of Easy, what I thought. So he had so much information to kind of, as ammunition, if he ever, felt himself lost.
God, was that tough for you even raising him? Like trying to figure out how do I instill stuff that was instilled in me, having him live a completely opposite experience?
No. Growing up in the hood is nothing to brag about. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not easy. It's not hard. Most people would rather grow up in a tamer environment. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad and I'm lucky that my kids didn't have to go through the stuff I had to go through when it come to gangs and, dope and the police and just being broke. And so, I feel lucky and blessed, and I'm happy. I don't want them to ever have to experience that kind of stuff.
Did you really smash up that executive's record, the record executive's office?
Yeah, I did.
That's the best.
You still feel good about that?
I feel good about that, man. I do. I try not to be a violent person, and
right, of course.
He just pushed me to the limit, and here's why. I had sold a lot of records with America's Most Wanted, and I think Kill at Will. Mm-hmm. And I wanted an advancement on my next record because O'Shea Jr. was about to be born. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
So I say, man, I got a baby coming, and I need to get out of this apartment that I was in. I want to get a house for my family. And
by the way, that's crazy. When you talk about like two
records,
classic albums, right?
Yeah.
And they're out and they've sold, and like it's not like people found them later. Like those were giant albums.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm gonna try to get out of an apartment now.
I mean, I was in an apartment because that was really my first time being able to move out and do anything. So that was just my spot. Uh-huh. I was stacking money then, but I was $100,000 short on this house because when you buy a house, you got to have not only your money but a little extra money to give away for the house. So I was $100,000 short, and I said, dude, I need an advancement on my record. You know what I mean? Give me advancement. And the album almost finished. He was like, cool. On the phone, he was like, cool. So when we went through escrow, I called him. I'm like, yo, escrow about to close. I'm 100 G's short. I need that. Cube, I don't know what you're talking about. What? I don't remember saying I would give you that. I was like, dude, don't play with me. Nah, man, I don't remember giving you that. I said, oh, okay. I said, I'm on my way up there.
It's terrible news. It's the worst news.
I'm on my way up there. And I got up there and, I walked through. They saw me with a bat, but they. What's up, Cube? Hey man, how you doing?
Holding a baseball.
What's up?
Just coming to get this sign.
Boom, boom, boom. Going, where Brian at, man? Oh, he's in there. So I go in his office. Now I got the lynch mob with me. I got
Right.
JD, T-Bone, Shorty. We go in there, and he's in his bathroom in his office, and so we, of course, in the movie we walk in and it just happens.
Sure.
But in reality, he was in the bathroom, and when he came out, we was just posted up in his office.
By the way,
way more horrifying.
and that's the only reason he didn't shit himself.
Yes.
He just come out of the bathroom. Otherwise,
So he's like, "Hey, Q, what's up? What's going on?"
like he didn't know.
Yeah, I'm like, so he goes to his desk, and I go and close the door. One of those. Now you can't leave. Right? And I just start to berate him, man, and tell him why he's wrong and fucked up for what he's doing. And I just got more heated, and then I'm just looking at all these records, and everything had. I was so fed up at this time with this paper pushing, call the lawyer, all this kind of. This was the world I didn't know.
Right.
So I'm like, man, I got to take this back to South Central. So I just rearranged his office for him. And
what's he saying when you're smashing all of his shit? Is he like, this isn't the way this is done?
Come on, man. Dude, what? The TV? Come on, Q. He's like, he's talking about all kind of things. We break out, and the whole office is like, what the hell just happened now? Everybody looking at us walk through. We get on the elevator, we go down, and it's like LAPD everywhere. Freeze, what are y'all doing? All this up against the wall, we up against the wall, and the other owner, Mark Cerami, comes down, and he's like, Q, what happened? What's going on? I'm like, man, Brian, he's messed up. Boom, boom, I tell him, he said, man, no charges. Can you guys just leave him alone? We don't want to charge, no charges. So the police backed off. He said, Q, call me tomorrow, man, please. I called him. He wrote me the check for 100 G's. I got my house.
Yeah.
O'Shea Jr. didn't have to grow up homeless. And
All's
we
well
ended up
that ends
making,
well.
we made up 6 months later.
Uh-huh.
And when I went back up there, though, they had bulletproof glass like it was a KFC in Compton.
Just gonna say that.
Bulletproof glass this thick, and you have to get buzzed in, and somebody has to come get you and walk you back and all this kind of stuff. It was crazy.
And no sporting goods either.
Yeah.
None.
That's exactly what every Kennedy Fried Chicken on my neighborhood has. Just absolute bulletproof glass.
Yeah. So do you? Does that make it more difficult? Like once you're like, oh, this worked. Is it that difficult to not realize that? Wait, I have this in my back pocket. I could do business this way.
Nah, I didn't want to go that route.
Yeah.
I felt like it was too many people already scared of me. So this just didn't help business at all. It kind of, made people kind of leery for a while. So I didn't dig that because I felt like I'm not in it for that. I'm in it to make good records, make good music, and keep it moving.
At what point did you think to yourself, I want to make like a family movie? I don't want to be scary Ice Cube all the time. I want to be a dad in a family movie.
Well, what's a trip is we used to watch stuff like Home Alone on the bus, NWA tour bus. We watching Home Alone and all these crazy movies, Coming to America and Hollywood Shuffle. So
you were never inspired to do a song about the Wet Bandits, though? From
no,
Home
not
Alone?
at all. Not at all.
I love the idea of passing blunts around the bus and watching Kevin McAllister and his zany antics.
Yeah, it was so fun. But so we was, hip to all kind of movies growing up and having fun with it. And when I got to a certain point, I started seeing that my fans had kids. Mm-hmm. And you would have the father saying, this is Ice Cube. He's famous. He raps, and he has to teach his kids who I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whoa, that's no good. Those kids need to know who I am. So that's when I decided, I said, I need to do something. Because kids shouldn't be going to see the Friday movies and, these hard movies. They should actually have something for them.
Yeah.
So I said, yo, Are We There Yet is the movie because of my kids' fans. And now I'm cool with that that generation. Now they're teenagers. They're gonna go see Fist Fight because they loved me and Are We There Yet? So
brand loyalty.
that's what it's all about.
Yep.
It's
Right.
all about grabbing the next generation. So in a few years, I'm gonna do another kids movie.
But that's so smart because a lot of people have this ego about them where you think because you came out with a couple of albums however many years ago, that should just last for a lifetime. So what the fuck you mean your kids don't know who I am? You know what albums I put out? And they're like, it's 25 years ago. Man.
Right.
You got to keep going.
Got to keep it moving,
You gotta
man.
keep moving.
And grabbing the new generation who had different rappers that they were into, you know. So with the movies, it's a great way to have fans from 8 to 80, blind,
Yeah.
crippled, and crazy.
When you're when you're working on new music, do you have to like stop yourself from being influenced by music that's out right now, like, you know, or are you mumble rapping through songs?
Nah, I'm not really. When I go to make a record or when I think, okay, here's time to get in the studio, I try not to listen to anything, just so I can make sure I'm having pure, you know, thoughts and that I'm doing it my way, because that's why you buy records, because this person has his own style and I like it.
Right.
And this person has his own style and I like it. And if you start like bleeding into other people's lane, then you don't become unique. And artists who've been in it for as long as I've been in it have to maintain their sound. They can't go chasing sound.
Right.
They have to maintain their
Yeah.
own sound because that's what the fans like from them.
Well, with that in mind, like now considering the social and political climate of things, do you find are you circling back and touching on some of the things that you did touch on with NWA and with the America's Most Wanted? Like, is it similar?
Well, yeah, that's the question. Like,
Yes.
which side does Donald Trump hit for you? Is it the millionaire side where you're like, yeah, he's a businessman, I'm about business too, or is it this rebellious political dude?
Rebellious political dude.
Yeah.
Because as a millionaire, he can be as crazy as he want to be on his own dime. You know what I mean? Now he's crazy representing all of us.
Right.
So some of the stuff he do is not cool, period. It's just not presidential.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there's ever a White House tour and Ice Cube shows up with a baseball bat on the tour, somebody better be alerted.
Ice Cube will never show up to the White House with a baseball bat. Ice Cube will never probably show up to the White House.
Just keep a nice healthy distance.
Yes.
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 It makes sense. What about Friday? Are you gonna? I guess you get asked. I feel like every time you do anything, but is the Friday franchise gonna live on, or is that done?
I hope so. You know, we want to do another one, but we got to do it right. You know, it's like we can do it. We could have did it years ago, but it would have been wrong. And it's like, you don't do it if it can't be right. I'm not touching it. So it looks like things, and I've been saying this, it seemed like for 5 years, but it looks like things are moving in the right direction.
When did you get like comfortable with that area? Because like movies are like that. Like movies, and I guess music maybe a little bit, but at least like you said with music, you can get into a studio, you can record a song. Like it speaks for itself. Like movies take forever to be made.
Yes, and you got to have a consensus
Yeah.
on what it should be with the studio, with the executives, with the producers, with the directors, with the actors, and it got to work for the fans. So it's a lot of people, it's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and all of them have say in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to get like acclimated to the process of like, no, this is going to take a while, but once it gets done, it'll be good.
Once I took a movie to the 11th hour, we had everything set up and they pushed it back.
Yeah.
And we ended up never doing that movie. And then I realized that you can always be in development hell, and things just take as long as they take. Ride Along sat for 10 years.
Wow.
10 years at another studio.
But you got to be glad. Sometimes that's a good thing because you wouldn't have gotten Kevin Hart 10 years ago.
Yeah, man. I mean, coming off a Soul Plane, he would have been perfect.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
No, I'm just-
Well, listen, everybody go see Fist Fight. It's in theaters February 17th. If you want to see Ice Cube be a badass and beat up Charlie Day, that's the movie for you.
Are you sure that I get Charlie Day?
I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it.
Don't be too sure now. Don't think you know the outcome of this fight.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you for coming by.